So my name is Maddie. I'm an R&D Program Manager for Atlassian. My role responsibilities include the conferences, so all of the internal learning and knowledge sharing conferences that we have. We do 3 for each craft, 1 for engineering, 1 for design, and 1 for product management. So we also do a bit with grad onboarding. And we're really focused now on learning events. I'm based in Sydney. The rest of my team is split between Sydney and the Bay Area in the US. It sounds cool, but I wasn't sure how it would apply to the work that I do. And it seemed, since I don't actually have an L&D background, it seemed like that was kind of basic that most people should be doing. And I didn't really understand what L&D professionals have been doing up until now, if it wasn't that, but also, confused how it would really apply to events rather than, curriculum. Get more value out of it than we ever expected. The timing worked well, where we are currently doing like a new learning event strategy, and we've always been looking for ways to tie our 3 crafts together. And so kind of thinking about it as a cluster, we were able to then come up with different ideas to surround the actual event to make it tie over all 3 crafts and be able to have it be a little bit more encompassing, and then also include other things that we hadn't thought of that might be event related, so that people were able to stick with it before and after their conference. Yeah, I think we had a couple big aha moments. Sounds very meta, but basically realizing that the event itself was a cluster, the conference was a cluster within a cluster within a cluster. And so then that was kind of our big aha moment of having to piece all of these things together and figuring out which cluster they belong to, but realizing it was all parts of greater whole, which was very cool. I think for me personally, the biggest thing was the upgrade and having those 9 elements of modern learning. That was really cool, and to be able to use those and apply them to events and what we include as part of our cluster with events, to make it more engaging, make people actually want to participate, but more importantly, so it actually sticks, since that's always been our biggest problem, is that people go to this conference, now it's online of course, but then 2 weeks later they've forgotten everything and nothing changes. So having that upgrade action and having those different ways that people can, the ability to actually make it something that sticks with people and lasts longer than just those 3 days that they're involved in the conference is something that we're definitely going to be using. The language was clear enough to be able to tie it in with the language that we usually use. We've already actually been conducting interviews for our learning personas just this week. And we've got a few booked in next week because we actually really see the value in that. And we're trying to come up with our learning personas even now, which is very cool. We're trying to teach the rest of the team and all of our new onboarders, or all of our new starters who will be onboarding, will be going through watching those videos so that they learn the language, and we'll be able to do that as a bigger whole. Again, the timing was really perfect for us, since we were specifically working on a learning events strategy at the time, and we had just kind of come up with our mission and our vision for the team and what we really wanted our impact to be. And then to be able to tie that in with, these are some actual brainstorming ideas of things that we can do right now as we're redeveloping the whole way that we do events at Atlassian, was really cool. And so we're definitely continuing that on now. Like I said, we're doing the learner persona interviews. We've already done some of the upgrade actions for our existing events. And right now we're a bit low on capacity, but as soon as we have more, then we're hoping to implement some of those new asset ideas that we have, which is very cool. I mean, I know my manager's goal is to have this used by the whole team always. But I think, again, going back to the meta cluster within a cluster within a cluster, I think the goal would to be eventually have my entire team do this. So right now it's just our L&D team within a broader team. But I think we're hoping to teach this to the rest of the team and hoping that it can be really like maybe a CX cluster. And within that, there's our like broader team cluster practices. And then within that, there's the education cluster. And within that, there's events. So that's a huge stretch. I don't know if it's possible, but in a perfect world, that could be very cool. I think one of our biggest challenges as a team that we've tried to tackle is trying to have teams make time for learning. And I think if this really were to like every single team were doing the clusters and it was completely embedded, I think that actually would change that. No one would really need to make time for it. It would happen like organically already through all of the assets that are in place that are targeted specifically to those people to meet them at that time. So it doesn't feel like I need to block out a certain amount of time to go and learn something. It's more like it's already happening and you almost don't even realize it. So it actually kind of changes almost the entire goal of making time for learning, is that it's being made, learning is happening and nobody actually is like really realizing that it's so ingrained at whatever they're doing. This goes back to, again, where I'm not coming from an L&D background. It was kind of confusing to think that people don't already do this just without the background of knowing what people have done in the past. Like, this seems like a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, it hits everything. Like, you want people to be engaged, you want it to stick, and this does all of those things and does it in a way that is fun and people can meet there and it's targeted. I guess I would say that just to keep an open mind about it, because I definitely was skeptical, but after going through all of the tools and going through all of the steps and trying to be open and flexible in the way that this could impact my work specifically, I was definitely pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I would just say keep an open mind about it. I think maybe if people have so much experience in L&D, they might be skeptical about trying something new, or think that they already know a lot of these things, but not necessarily in the way that brings it all together as a cluster.